Welcome to the Child Care Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Sacoccio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Child Care Director's Chair.
Some people lead because they have to, but the ones who change lives, they lead because they're called to it. And today's episode, I'm sitting down with the brilliant Dr. Mommy C to talk about what it truly means to lead with purpose. The kind of leadership that shapes culture, inspires teams, and creates a ripple effect far beyond our classrooms. So if you've ever wondered how to turn your daily grind into a mission that matters, this conversation is your moment. So let's dive in. Welcome back to the Child Care Director's Chair, where we empower child care directors and owners to build thriving programs, strong teams, and communities that last. I'm your host, Erica Sacoccio, and today I'm beyond thrilled to be joined by a powerhouse, Dr. Mommy C. She's a heart-centered leader who has dedicated her career to raising the bar in early childhood education. So today we're going into deep dive into what it means to lead on purpose and to lead with purpose, even on the days that it is long and the challenges are real and the stakes are high. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. For my first engaged encounter, it was exciting to meet you. And I was like, oh yeah, we like minds definitely think alike. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of your show for sure.
Thank you. So tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Dr. Mommy C, Dr. Charity Holland. Dr. Mommy C was a pen name years ago from my husband, actually, when my child was in childcare. And we wanted him to hear mommy and not Charity. So it was something that just stuck. And anyone at work that calls me Charity, most people are looking at him like, wait, you don't know her because that's not her name. But yeah, so it's been a phenomenal ride. Absolutely love what I do. I started actually childcare out of frustration. I did not or I could not find what I needed for my son when he was about 2 years old, and left my corporate job. My background was in nursing. I was at that time working in sales and management after I had left nursing, and I left my corporate job for my miracle son. I had to do something that was going to benefit him. It seemed like with the half hour that he got home, he was learning more with me than he was all day with the childcare provider. And this person was actually referred to me by someone, and my experience was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. She told me to stop calling and don't stop by. It was just every situation you could think of happened. And long story short, I pulled him out and was taking him to a friend of mine that kind of was just watching her grandkids. And I said, can you just keep them alive at this point? And at that time, it was about an 80-mile radius that I was driving.
Wow.
And after doing it for about a month, I said, I can't do this anymore. And actually, with the discussion with my husband, I came home one day very, very frustrated. And we had a house at the time that was empty, that was listed for sale. And he said, why don't you make the house a child care? And I was like, are you crazy? No, no, I don't like kids like that. And that's kind of the answer. That was the answer I gave him. And he said, but you're a great mom and you would be phenomenal. And I literally spit out my business plan. I said, well, I think children should learn through play. I think it should be a clean environment. And I think, parents should be able to call if they want to call. And, and I think they should eat quality foods. And he was like, sounds like you just wrote your business plan. And I literally left my job and started an in-home childcare. And 17 years later, we have 2 locations. I have about 30 staff members. And so I absolutely love what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, your story is the story for so many of us. So my story is almost identical. So
Oh, wow.
it's not surprising
Yeah.
how we
Yeah.
get called here.
Right. For
So
sure.
let's start with something simple but powerful.
Mm.
What does it mean to lead on purpose?
To me, leading on purpose is leading with the mission in mind. It's being very mission minded. It's strategic. It's not just waking up, rolling out of bed, um, and happen to put on shoes. I know what shoes I got to walk in today. I know what I have to put on, how I need to be dressed, what I need to say, what I need to wear. And all of those, of course, are metaphors, right? Knowing exactly whose ground you're going to step on today, right? And what footprints are you going to leave when you get there? And so it's really just leading with that mission in mind and leading on purpose. And it's realizing you not only touch children, you touch your staff, you touch your parents. It's the people who are next to your business, Right now, my story is the construction people that are at the front, Everything matters because you don't know who's talking. And
Yeah.
it's so important. The delivery person that brings the gallon of milk in, it's what you say. It's what your center says when they come in and have an encounter with you. It's everything. And so it's being very purpose minded, purpose driven with everything that you do.
Yeah. Sometimes when I talk with my directors, I find like a lot of directors kind of show up and they're like, okay, what fire am I putting out today? I'm
Hmm.
like, no, what plan do you have today? What are the things you're going to do today? Where are you going to make your mark? But so many folks just come in, and I don't know if that really started more during the pandemic or if that's how it's always been for some
Hmm.
folks. But
Hmm.
for me, I feel like, no, what's like, I have a plan.
Right.
Every
Most
morning when I'm
people are
going in,
reactive. Yeah, we're just reactive.
yes.
We're just kind of flowing with, the wind just took me over here and that's how I got here. And you know, the storm blew me this way and I'm over here now. It's like, no. And I tell my staff a lot of times, I have a backpack. It's an imaginary backpack. I'm almost like Dora. You don't see it. But I have everything in there. Anything that you could think of is in my backpack. It's prepared. It's tape, it's scissors, it's markers, it's glue, it's rope. I have no idea what I might need. And when you come prepared like that every day, where there is the child that is missing mommy a little bit more today, or it's that co-teacher that is stressed out about her boyfriend and she can't get
Mm,
herself together to cut the art project, it's everything. And so being prepared, overly prepared, ready for action, it's almost like being put on that front line. I'm going with bullets loaded. I'm
mm,
definitely not going to stand up there and don't have the right equipment and I'm not prepared.
yeah. Was there a moment that you realized your leadership, like, that you needed to be purpose driven or have a purpose driven foundation? Was there like a moment that you realized that?
Um, I've always been the type of person that's that extra drive, a little bit crazy, as my mom would have called it. Um, you know, and so I felt like it was needful to create teams that were the same minded as me, right? So a lot of people know how I actually interview. I interview people. I do personality tests on staff. Um, I ask the same questions that most people ask in an interview, but my last question is always going to be a little crazy for some, and it's going to say, "Do you like Crocs and Mismatched socks?" And most people will be like, what? And that's my final determining factor if they're going to fit my culture. Because a person who
Yeah.
can rock Crocs and mix max socks, that's going to be that person that loves children,
Fun. Yeah.
fun, and that's our environment. They're not going to complain when I say it's PJ day,
Hmm.
crazy hair day. They're going to come in participating. And so I'm always looking for another person to fit the culture that we have. I think so many times as leaders, when we hire because we need, but we also hire just to fill spaces. And no, I don't want that. I hire to feel content,
Yeah.
and add color, you
Yeah.
know,
I do.
right? No, I want someone that's going to have a different flavor. Who's going to bring a different, I use a pot of soup all the time. Who's bringing a different seasoning today? What are you throwing in?
I love that.
Because
I love
sometimes
that.
the best soups, oh man,
Mhm.
after it sits
Mhm.
for a while and
That's when it's
somebody,
really good.
oh yeah, and then somebody's bringing cornbread and somebody else threw in carrots and you didn't know they were in there and you didn't really like onions, but when you found that it mixed with everything else, you were like, oh,
Mm.
I can handle an onion. So that's
Yeah.
what the environment should be like. It should be a discovery all the time, discovering what's happening.
Yeah. How do you feel like directors can really discover their own why in a field that's always so fast paced?
Mm.
We touched on that a little bit, but
Hmm.
maybe somebody's new or, they've only been in the field a couple years and like, I'm not really even sure how to really do this. Like maybe they're managing tasks, but they're not really leading.
Yeah, I think it's important for CEOs to, we have a slogan called keeping boots to the ground. I think it's important for CEOs to meet with your leaders, meet with your directors, find out where they're at, where's their headspace. What is their vision for the room or the culture or that particular location? What ideas do they have? Because you'll be shocked sometimes to if you just ask the surface questions. Like the other day, we had a teacher that we had interviewed and we were doing a sneak peek. We do sneak peek interviews where we give you a few hours to be on the floor just to test it out to see if we're really going to like you. And she had this whole resume full of years of experience in the infant room. And we were like, oh, this is going to be good. And when she
Mhm.
got in the infant room, she was in the infant room 3 of the 4 hours like this. Didn't talk, didn't engage. And finally, my executive assistant said, I need to talk to you. Like, what exactly did you do at these other places with all of these years of experience?
Mhm.
How did you handle the babies? What did you do? And she said,
Yeah.
well, we just fed them and put them down and changed their diapers and put them
Yeah.
down and rocked them to sleep and put them down. Everything was put them down. And she was like, oh, that's not our environment at all. Like in the 3 hours you've been here, I haven't heard you say one word to a baby.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Not a good fit.
yeah, not a good fit.
Probably not a good fit any high quality program, to be honest.
Oh, but again, the resume
Yeah.
said different.
Yeah.
It said years of experience. It said,
Yeah.
curriculum and, all the right words that you think you want to see and hear. The
Yeah.
references were solid, right? Because she was a person that probably just came to work.
Yeah.
And that's what so even sometimes leaders, what you're looking for and what I'm looking for, people that run high quality centers is definitely going to be different than someone who's just, oh, I'm just open for
Bodies.
today.
Yeah, bodies. Yeah.
Yeah. So just because you call and you ask, how was this person and would you hire them again? You almost got to know what is their culture like and what do they stand
Mm,
for, because
that's a
you might
great
be getting
point.
something that's not going to be a good fit just because they claim to have the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is one thing one thing to know your purpose, but it's another thing to live it every day. How do you keep that alignment when days get messy?
Mm.
Because they get messy.
Oh boy. I have a new book that's coming out. I do have the book, The Mission is Too Big to Play Small. But in this season that childcare is kind of in right now in Indiana, where we're at. We have people that are waiting on government funding. You have about 22,000 people on this waiting list. You have a $232 million gap that they're trying to close. And so in this season that we're in, where you have frustrated parents who can't get spots and people who can't afford the rates without the assistance that they're normally
Mhm.
used to having, I had to write. And the new book is called Up Under Pressure. And it's talking about that very thing. Like, how do you keep moving when pressure is so great? And um, the realism is pressure is not what is designed to take us out. It's designed to make us stronger.
Yeah.
And so it's changing your perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
It's changing the lens that you're looking through, you know, this thing that's on me, this stress, this pressure. I'm looking for people, or the budget doesn't align, or the staff is not getting the mission that I'm trying to preach, or whatever it might be. You, as that owner, you have to stay focused on what the mission is, and you just keep pushing. It's almost like you have to put sticky notes around
Yeah.
and what are you listening to on your drive there? And,
You know
you
what
know,
they're listening to.
I know,
They're
I know.
listening to us.
Oh yeah. And so, but it's all those things that you have to put
Yeah.
in your mind as leaders so that when you speak, it it matters,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's no
Yeah.
different than a teacher that will come in and not understand that child from a development perspective. You're telling that 3-year-old to sit down and be quiet and don't move, or whatever, weird thing is coming out of your mouth, versus, hey, friends, we're going to have a good day. Let's turn our ears on. I need you to be nice. We're going to have an impact today, right? So it's all about what you say. I'm big on saying what you say paints your world. And so it's so important, even as leaders, although you might have just walked out of that room and the budget didn't line up, it's what you say out of your mouth that gets
Mm.
people moving. Nobody's getting paid today. Well, okay, nobody's going to move, right? But if you come in and say, hey, guys, we're going to make it through this, we're going to be great,
Mm-hmm.
it's all with what you're saying. And
Yeah.
that's really
And they
determining
really,
the outcome.
yeah. They're really looking to you to be that anchor for them. They really are.
Yes.
You're the anchor of that boat. I think, mindset was definitely a great point. I also think reflective routines is one way that I try to put into practice to get through those messy days. I look back
Hmm.
and, what is going well? What can I build on? I'll look at that. And then, working with mentors, and I don't care how top of your game you are, working with other mentors, other folks, other colleagues that are
Yes.
maybe a step or two ahead of you, or,
Right.
maybe they know about grants, maybe they know about some things you don't know. And
Yes.
core values always at the front and center.
Oh,
Always,
yeah.
always, always.
Always.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to constantly be brushing off the book, you know? You
Yeah.
just can't leave it on the shelf. Oh, I know about management. I'm good. You know, we pinned a phrase at my location and we called it "Don't be an Erica." I had it. I had an employee that I let go who literally vocalized, "I don't need to grow."
Uh,
And I
okay.
said, well, I don't think you can work for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
that we do is about empowerment and growth and
Mhm.
learning. I learned from a 2-year-old. I have a doctorate, but I can learn every day. And I don't know how
Yeah.
to manage that. And we pinned that phrase, don't be an Erica, because if you say anything to that line that I don't need to grow, I don't know if you could work for me, right? And even as owners, as managers, as CEOs, as leaders, you have to surround yourself with someone who knows more than you, who can give you
Yeah.
tips of the trade, or I tried this and it worked, or people who are risk takers, um,
Yeah.
people who are in your circle but know a little bit more than you.
Yeah. So for Ericas everywhere, not all Ericas are the same kind of Erica, because these Ericas over here, we grow.
That's right.
She
That's
must have spelled
right.
her name with a K.
Right. It was a different
Nah,
spelling.
I'm
You
just
definitely
playing.
would see that personality though, right? That personality type.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
categorize my staff into types sometimes, and it's like, oh yeah,
yeah,
the ones
yeah.
who've been hurt and abused, that's a category. The ones who needs reminders, that's a category. So yeah, makes it
I
easy.
love that you said that. You know what I have been finding? Um, I have been finding staff that truly have post-traumatic stress from places that they have worked.
Yes,
These bad directors out there, bad owners, they are really, truly mentally messing folks up. It
you
is,
got it.
it's some of the things I hear on this podcast, or that people will message me and say, like, the things that the directors say to them
Yes,
or do is like blows my mind. So that's one of the reasons I get so excited about talking about leadership to really help. And I'm not going to say it's only the new folks, because sometimes it's the old folk too who are like,
Hmm.
they're just done. They're almost at
Yeah.
the end of the career. Like they don't care. They're just coming in till it's time to
Yeah.
retire.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
true. I tell people all the time, it's almost like that one friend that that keeps going to that bad guy.
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
she has quality, but she keeps finding herself in this bad relationship. And she now thinks that everybody is like this, right?
Yeah.
And so you do have some people who come into your centers with trauma because they think that everybody is like their old boss. I've had
Hmm.
new teachers. I had a new teacher that would knock on my door and would step back like
Yes.
this. And I said, you know, you can come in. And she was like, in my old job, I could never come in the office. I couldn't,
Yeah.
it was almost like, and I was like, girl, get in here, sit down,
Yeah.
and you have to say, I'm not like that. So you spend a lot of time saying, I'm not like
Say it a
that.
lot. You say it a lot.
It's
Yeah.
not like that here. You can ask for a day off. You can
Yeah.
call in sick. And we have a slogan at our school. It's okay to be human. I need you to be human. Go handle the flat tire. Go call the mechanic. Go take off work. I'm not going to make you come to work sick. And
Yeah.
you have so many places that do that because they run so thin of a margin. They can't have people take off and people come to work sick, and they can't
Yeah.
enjoy life. They don't have work-life balance. And it is sad. Like you said, you're constantly pulling people out of this I'm not like that type of mentality when they come to work for great places.
Yeah. So, we don't just we don't just lead ourselves, but we lead our entire teams and our community. So, how
Mhm.
does leading with purpose show up in how you guide others?
I think it's going back to, keeping, like we said, keeping boots to the ground. It's keeping an ear to what is needed, whether that's from your parents. Parents need a lot of coaching and mentoring. So we do coaching and mentoring. We do parenting classes. Because sometimes parents feel like they're by themselves. They maybe have
Yeah.
just moved to the city and they don't have any family, or they only have one child and they don't know how to parent. Unfortunately, children don't come with rule books. So, um, so because we have that experience, we should always be reaching back and circling back and asking, do you need some help? What happened last night? What time did your child go to bed? you know, are you aware that
Yeah.
this car seat is not correct, right? It's everything. It's looking at everything. I noticed that dad's not dropping off as much. Is everything okay? Right? So it's recognizing that they are not just bodies dropping kids off too, right? But then it's also getting involved with your team and learning about them. Some of the teaching that I do all across the country talks about after you hire that staff member, now what? You know?
Hmm.
So they changed. They've been with you 3 months,
Come on,
6 months.
just put them in a room.
Ugh,
Just put them in a room.
you gotta
Day
stay,
two.
you gotta stay close to them because you
Yeah.
know, they get lost in this new world that they don't know existed, right? And they become, I find that, like, going back to what you were saying, sometimes the new staff become skeptical, almost like the girl in the new relationship.
Hmm.
He came home on time. Oh, I know something's brewing. He's going to cheat soon enough. It's like, so the
Yeah.
boss that starts to pay them on time, they're skeptical, like, I know she said she was having a team meeting and she was providing food, but I don't know. They become skeptical because they've never had that. They've never experienced that. So it's keeping an ear to that. It's, keeping an ear to the janitor staff. If you have a janitor staff, are they really cleaning?
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. So I think it's just staying present. I'm the type of boss that needs to stay present. I know there are some
Hmm.
that are out there that maybe not so much, but my personality and who I am and how I'm wired, I need to stay present. And I think there's a big difference between present and micromanaging. But I definitely need to stay present for those things.
Yeah. How do you inspire your staff?
I think the biggest way to inspire is to model what you want to see.
Okay.
You know, You have a lot of people who speak things but don't do things.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest teacher is what you're not saying. They're watching what you're doing. They're
Yeah.
watching how you interacted with that parent after you told them that parent hadn't paid you in 3 weeks. They're watching
Yeah.
now how you treat the child of that parent who hasn't paid you in 3 weeks, right? They're watching everything, and it's really what they say, not to you, but to others about you.
Yeah.
So I know I've shared a lot with people where when I do my interviews, I have staff members come in randomly. I just pick them in a chat and say, hey, come in and talk. And I just ask them weird questions. And, I know some people probably can't do that because they're afraid of what their staff might say about the environment or about them. And so, but staff really will tell the truth if you ask them.
So I have to tell you something funny. So I remember you saying that in Miami.
Yes.
And when I came back, I had an interview and one of the teachers was coming out of the bathroom and she was walking through my office and I said, "Hey, Tabitha, do me a favor." I said, "You've only worked here for about 3 or 4 weeks. This lovely lady here is on an interview. I'm going to leave the room and give her an opportunity to ask you some questions as a new team member here, what it's like to work here." And I
Oh,
left the room and I gave them about 10 minutes. And then I knocked on the door. I said, "I'm coming back." I said, were you guys able to, to ask questions?" And she said, "Oh my God, that was amazing." She said, I've never been to a place that did that. And I did get that idea from you. I will not lie.
yes.
I had never done that before. I have included other like manager level folks in an interview
Mm-hmm.
process, but I was like, oh my, Tabitha did not even know. That was not rehearsed. I was like, "Hey, you just coming out of the
Yes.
bathroom? Cool. How many weeks you been here? Great. Tell her what it's like to work here.
Yes.
I'm leaving."
Yeah, and the thing is, you trusted your culture enough,
Yeah.
and you trusted what you have in place enough
Hmm.
to let somebody else talk for you. And you had
Yeah.
no idea what they were going to talk about.
I
But
didn't.
that shows trust. That shows that
Yeah.
you're not a boss that feels threatened
Yeah.
about somebody else talking about your business. And I'm sure if that was a person that you hired, that encounter helped make that decision for that person,
Yeah. Yeah, and
because
I
like
think
you
it probably
said,
made the new staff member be like, "Wow,
yeah,
you
that's
picked
different.
me, like you have people that worked here 10, 11 years. You didn't Yeah, you were the lucky one who
Absolutely.
came out the bathroom. It's you, girl, go."
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, that bond is a little different between now you and that new staff member because, like you
Yeah.
said, they felt like, wow, that was special. She
Yeah.
felt like I had something important to say and
Yeah.
that my
Yeah.
my voice mattered, right? And so many times you hear that in our interviews, people come in and, what are I even ask people in an interview, what are the top 3 qualities that you look for in a manager?
Mhm.
And that'll typically indicate the things that they were missing.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, communication,
Mhm.
understanding, or whatever it is, right? And then now I can go into, okay, great. And now when another person comes in to speak for me, I'll home in on those things that they say they need. Hey, how are we
Yeah.
with communication? How are we with understanding? How are we with, giving you days off? Because these are things that they might have mentioned,
Yeah.
right? And now that kind of does lead in question. Oh man, I had a situation where I needed time off. My dad was sick, and Mommy C was really understanding, and so forth, right? So now it's solidifying the things that this person needs,
Yeah.
and now we're answering their needs.
Yeah. So how can directors continue leading with purpose during times that maybe are challenging? Because, it's hard. So
Hmm.
what do they do? How do they keep leading with purpose if they feel like maybe you had said way earlier, like 25 minutes ago, about maybe not feeling like the team sees your vision?
Mm. Um, I think one of the main reasons how people in general can lead with purpose is recognizing their own needs.
Mm.
You know, um, It's like the gas hand. If you see that you're getting on empty, pull up to the gas station and get some more gas, right? You don't be the type, oh, I think I could keep going. I got 10 more miles. I'm going to test it. Some things aren't worth testing. I need a fill up, and that
Mm-hmm.
fill up may need to be, I need some days off, or I may need to go. I have a bench in one of my locations, and we call it almost like the doctor's bench, where staff will just come in and lay out, and they're like, "Okay, I need 10 minutes just to," and it's like, okay, right?
Yeah.
They know that I'm here. Whatever happens in this office, almost like Vegas, stays in this office.
Mm-hmm.
Let it out, cry it out. I'm gonna pass you some tissue. I'll probably cry with you. And when it's all said and done, I'm gonna say, "You ready to put your boots back on?
Mm-hmm.
Ready to pull up your big girl undies and go back to
Yeah.
class?" Right?
Yeah.
Because women are stronger than we think, right? We are resilient creatures, and it's like, hey, girl, get yourself, and I'll give them that look. Get yourself together.
Mm-hmm.
Go on back in that classroom, or go on back in that office. They need you. We can do this, right? So it's
Yeah.
sometimes having those breakout powwow sessions, those cry sessions, those take the mask off reveals, all
Yeah.
those things that we need sometimes just to kind of keep going.
Yeah. So as we start to wrap it up, is there anything you want to leave with the listeners that I didn't ask you?
Hmm. I think I would probably say, in the midst of all of it, keep the main thing the main thing. You know, if your business is all about children, all of the things that sometimes cloud our day, keep it about the children. Keep it about their growth, their safety, their development, their progression, um, wholeness, education, all those things. And so I sometimes have to pull back and reel in and say, you know what? Did we impact children today? Did we really do what was necessary for that child today? That child who comes from a broken home or is dealing with their dog who just died or whatever, right? It's everything. And so I tell my parents, we sometimes push children aside because in our minds we feel like they don't feel the same pressure. They just process it differently, but they do feel that pressure, right?
Yeah.
And so it's at the end of the day, I tell people, what is the real thing? Keeping that main thing the main thing. Is it about children? Let's make it about children. I know that teacher wants that raise, and I know payroll is not working out, and I know the budget might be off, and you got to order groceries, and they didn't bring the milk, and they busted up the window when they were trying to open it. All these things are happening. The ceiling started leaking, state showed up, you know.
Sound like you've
but,
been around a while.
oh, they're here. Okay, right?
Yeah.
You got all these things that's happening. And definitely for that person that's trying to do it right? We're definitely not the
Yeah.
ones that's throw that extra kid in the closet. We're not doing that.
No.
Um, but when it's all said and done, at the end of the day, did I do everything in my power to
Mm.
help a child?
Yeah. That's
And
good stuff.
I think if you keep that there, I honestly think that's what keeps those in business,
Mm-hmm.
because that mission never changes. Mission's
Yeah.
too big to play small. It's too big
Yeah.
to play small. My book, right? Too big to play small. You got to keep that mission minded of what's happening for sure.
And do people get that book on Amazon?
You can Google Dr. Charity Holland right on the search bar, and it'll pull the
I'll put it
mission.
in the show notes, Charity.
Oh yeah,
I'll put it in the show notes.
yes.
So is it your website you prefer people to purchase it on, or
They can go straight to
Amazon?
Amazon. It's fine. Yep.
Amazon.
Yep.
Okay.
Amazon is
I
fine.
will
Right on
put the link.
Amazon.
I'll
Yep.
put the link below.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insight today.
Yes.
This conversation is a reminder that leading on purpose isn't about perfection, but it is about intention.
Yes.
And for everyone listening, if you're ready to step into your leadership fully, come join our community and stay up to date. Head on over to thechildcaredirectorschair.com, join our email list. While you're there, you can download a free staff retention tip sheet, because keeping your amazing staff is always purposeful leadership.
Yes.
And it truly shows up when you love your team. So
Awesome.
keep leading with heart, stay aligned with your why, and never underestimate the ripple effect your leadership can create.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Child Care Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Sacosio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.